The Cellcast is recorded in front of a live streaming audience.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Cellcast. Joining me today is a man who's feeling a little bird-brained. Welcome, Jacob.
Well, sometimes we all feel like that, don't we? Why, thank you. Let me introduce our co-host, a man who was very grateful and very blessed to have a little red Muppet that only showed up for one scene in this film. Welcome, Drew.
And he technically wasn't that character yet.
Really?
We will get to that.
Oh, okay.
We will get to that.
Fair.
Joining us, however, today for this particular trip to a certain street in the middle of New York City, straight from California and from the Retro Rewind Pod, PaulJPowers.com. How are you doing, man?
No need to fear. Super Grover is here. I'm doing great. I got Grover here, and we're doing good.
Good deal.
Oh, my word.
That's awesome.
I have an opinion about that voice later on, but we'll get to it. So yeah, we are reviewing Sesame Street Presents Follow That Bird. As far as we can tell, this was the only theatrically released Sesame Street film. And I am kind of curious, Paul, why did you volunteer for this?
Oh man. I have that same question. Might as well go into.
Why did I torture thee?
Yeah. To be honest, should I go into my non-spoiler review of it?
Let's go ahead and at least let the intro go.
Okay.
Certified fresh and spoiler-free.
So, yeah, go ahead.
All right. So, this movie came out in 1985, right? Is that right? I think so.
Yes.
So I have
I wasn't born
one of
yet.
the distinct privileges of remembering watching this movie in the theaters. I was at the age of 7, and I actually enjoyed this movie. But not enough to tell my friends at church or school or anything, because this is a Sesame Street movie. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
Right.
it's fair.
But I enjoyed it. And then about 10 years later, so about the end of high school or college, I had an opportunity to watch it again. I was like, hey, I remember enjoying this. Let's put it on. And I could not get through it. It was just, not as nearly as good as I remembered. And so I haven't seen it since. And then Drew is telling me, hey, we got these movies coming on. And I find myself saying, hey, put me down for that. And my internal dialogue is like, what are you saying? What are those words coming out of your mouth? I don't know why, but I signed up for this. But on this rewatch, it wasn't as bad as the previous one. It wasn't as good as the first one, but if you're like a dad sitting with your kid who enjoys Sesame Street and this is on the background, it's a decent one to sit through, I would say. So overall, my review, if I had to sum it up, going back to when I was a kid and all, if I could sum it up this way, I would say, oh my gosh, my mind just went blank. I had this set up so perfectly. But anyway, oh man. Darn it, I had a joke and I completely forgot it. Oh well.
Womp, womp, womp.
That happens.
But anyway, this movie is just so-so. It's
It's fair.
Fair.
This is the first time I've watched this movie.
Oh.
I did not even know this movie existed until about 5 years ago.
Fair enough.
And it came up, I think, on a Nostalgia Critic video I watched.
Yeah.
So that's how I even learned it existed. But I just hadn't ever. But, it's a Sesame Street movie. Why, at the age of 30-ish, would I go and watch a Sesame Street film? And then we started a podcast.
Yeah.
And
you put it on the list.
I put it on the list 4 years into the show. I did it I don't even know why I did it. It's like, I want a Muppet movie, but we can't do Labyrinth yet because of reasons. Mostly because we have a guest already lined up for that episode, but I need to find a way to record 3 people at once in this apartment. But I wanted to go ahead and do another puppetry movie, and there's surprisingly not that many puppet movies. I did not realize.
Yeah.
Muppet and Jim Henson stuff is pretty much where you're going to see most of it. And I saw this and thought, this might be interesting.
Yeah.
That's why I put it on the list. So watching this film for the first time, there was a couple things I was very cognizant of. One, while I did watch Sesame Street as a kid, it was so much past this point because the little red demon, Elmo, was on the show at this point. Kermit did not show up on Sesame Street by that point, except for in random reruns here and there. And it was, I feel like it was already a different show. I don't know, because I don't even know what normal Sesame Street's episodes look like at this point in time. I don't either. Luke is obviously doing its own kind of thing, set within that framework of the show. So this is a lot different. This felt like a normal Muppet movie, but made with a much simpler story, more kids based than standard Muppet movie is. So I appreciated it for that, though it does lose a lot of it doesn't have the same it doesn't hit you the same way a Muppet movie does.
No, it does not, unfortunately.
It has that flavor, but it's like it's Diet Muppets.
Diet Muppets. Okay, that's fair.
That's probably the easiest way I know how to put it.
That's a good description.
Yep.
So yeah, Jacob, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, going back to my childhood, I remember we didn't get, what was this, PBS?
Yeah, it was PBS.
It's PBS, and we only got where I grew up. We got probably like 3 channels. 3 channels. That was about it. And PBS maybe here. Like it popped in every once in a while when you turn the antenna by hand to get a certain station. So yeah, every once in a while I would see it, or I would go to someone's house and be like, "Oh, that's Muppets," or "This is Sesame Street." Okay, that's a little weird because there again, I didn't grow up watching Muppets.
Yeah, we already know about your hatred for Muppet Babies.
Yes, but yeah, we'll talk about that another day. But so this is the first time I'd be like, Drew put this on the list, and I never heard of it, and I was like, "What in the world?" It's like a Sesame Street film? What's going on here?
You put it on the list because you wanted a puppetry movie, Drew? I'm curious why this was on the list.
I wanted a puppetry movie. I didn't want to jump into Labyrinth, and I didn't want to jump into any of the post Jim Henson post Jim Henson movies just yet until after we had done Labyrinth.
Okay.
And in my mind, when I was doing my initial research on it, this movie came out like either the same year or like right before Labyrinth, but I think I was wrong about that. So that's why I had mentioned it before this point.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the movie from 1990. Anybody?
We will come back to that actually, but that's after this. Grant, I need to do a better job of looking at more puppetry films, so I will grant you that.
Expand his puppet horizon.
And I do know of some stuff that's technically marionette-mation that we should do at some point.
Okay. Nice.
Which is technically still puppetry.
Okay. So, yeah.
Certain British show that's been mentioned already in our chat.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
We are go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, I watched it. Obviously, it's free on YouTube. And
thankfully it was on YouTube, because when I first put it on the list, it was on HBO Max. Then HBO Max became Max and took it off. Or it came off before that point. So
that is weird.
Yeah.
So there again, kind of like Paul, be like, I don't have be like, unlike Paul, be like, I do not have any nostalgia for this film. And so watching it going in as a 40-year-old now, And it's like, okay, I can appreciate what the film was doing. I can appreciate where the artistry is going. I can appreciate where the story is going. It's like Paul said, it's kind of like a meh kind of film.
Yeah,
it's one of those like, okay, be like, if you want to put your little ones in front of it, go for it. That sounds like fun. But it's just like, okay, I watched it. It's interesting. It's definitely not my cup of tea, but yeah.
And you watched it 2 weeks ago.
Well, technically, it took me like a week and a half to watch it because
I did this all in one night.
Yeah, so kind of like our guest here, be like when you watched it the second time and you couldn't finish it.
Yeah,
it literally be like I would watch it for a couple of minutes and get distracted because I get distracted by everything. Turn it off, go do something else.
Well, admittedly, this is a simple movie.
Yeah, it is very simple.
There's not much complexity to this film.
There's nothing to grab you and pull you into the story.
I was about to say this movie is definitely how you view this movie. It definitely depends on your mood, and if you're not in the mood, it's easily turned off.
Yeah, fair.
I mean, I got this in Tuesday before we got into Retro Rewind that night.
Wow. And
so I was in a much better mood than I would have been, the day before. And that worked great till I had other issues. So anyway, why don't we go ahead and jump into the spoiler-filled section if there's much to spoil in this film?
Yeah.
The following is a spoiler-filled review for the movie Sesame Street Presents Follow That Bird. Listener discretion is advised. Sesame Street Presents Follow That Bird was directed by Ken Kwapis. I already said that name wrong. He directed 13 episodes of The Office later on. It was written by Tom Geis, I think it's Geis, and Judy Freudberg. Getting into the cast, we've got, of course, Carol Spinney as Big Bird, Oscar the Grouch, and Bruno the Trash Man. And outside of Sesame Street, he only has one other credit that I could find.
Really? What was that?
It was actually predates Sesame Street, I think, by about a year. And it was a character named Mr. Lion in something called Bozo's Big Top. But I'm suspecting it's a kid's show.
Okay.
Sounds like a circus to me.
Probably was. Jim Henson, of course, playing Ernie and Kermit the Frog. And he was actually half of the performing of Rolf the Dog for most of the career, including Rolf's debut on the Jimmy Dean Show. Yeah, Rolf was the ranch hound.
Oh, okay.
And apparently he had a crush on Lassie.
Well, who didn't?
Exactly.
And he did actually get to meet Lassie in one epispisode, apparently.
So here's one of the things where, like, I'm watching this film, it actually shocked me. I was like, wait, what is Kermit the Frog doing in this movie? Like, this is what is Kermit the Frog doing?
Kermit the Frog was in pretty much anything the Muppets were connected to.
Yeah, I agree.
Because Kermit was always Jim Henson's favorite, but it was also essentially his mascot and Jim's insert character, pretty much.
True.
So he was in many early episodes of Sesame Street before the Muppet Show.
Yeah,
because he was actually created.
When I watched Sesame Street, he was in there.
Yeah, which we don't even have. Most of Sam and Friends is lost media now.
Yeah,
because it was a Washington D.C. access show that almost no videotape was made except for what Jim Henson made himself.
Yeah,
so that he would have something to judge his performance based on. Anyway,
yeah, I found that interesting. I learned later on there was all this stuff later on, but I was like, wow, this is really cool.
Right?
Yep. Go ahead.
We got Frank Oz, of course, playing Cookie Monster, Bert, and Grover, Lavender Boy, and a monster. And in something called Echoes of Violence, which I believe is actually an upcoming thing, he is playing Dante.
Dante.
But of course, he's most well known for playing Yoda.
And Miss Piggy.
Yeah.
Which I'm just going to go ahead and mention this right here. Is there not a point in this movie where it felt like Grover and Miss Piggy were kind of using the same voice for both of those characters?
Yes.
Because there was a point where he was trying to open the bars.
Yeah.
That's where that was Miss Piggy's grunting. That was not. That was not
Well,
Grover.
That's Frank Oz.
That is
And
Frank
if-
I
Oz.
know, but
If-
it was funny. It's like, oh wow, you accidentally slipped into your piggy.
If Yoda wanted to pry bars open without using the Force, that's what he would sound like.
Yes.
I
Agreed.
Anyway, I just wanted to mention that. Richard Hunt played Gladys the cow, the feathered friends owl, and additional Muppets and additional Grouches. 'Cause apparently that's a separate classification. And in a Christmas film, I am planning on putting on the list at the end of this year, Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas. He played George Rabbit. Catherine Mullen played the Feather Friends magistrate, a Grouch Diner patron, and a little girl, additional Muppets, and she is most well known for performing Mokey Fraggle on Fraggle Rock.
Nice.
Jerry Nelson, who was Count Von Count, Harry Monster, and additional Muppets, was Gobo Fraggle on Fraggle Rock. Paul Bartel was the Grouch Cook, and in Death Race 2000, he played Frankenstein's doctor. Not Dr. Frankenstein, Frankenstein's doctor. That's how it was in there. Which was a weird way of putting that.
Yeah.
Sandra Bernhardt played the Grouch waitress, and she played Cassandra in Hercules, the TV show. Which I forgot there was a Hercules TV show till I was doing
The one-
research.
the
There have been
Xena-
several Hercules shows.
No, I mean
I was
the
about to say,
anime
is that
based on the movie.
Oh,
The Disney movie.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So not the Kevin
Cartoon.
Sorbo one.
Oh, okay. Disney's Hercules.
Okay.
No, not
That's
the
what I
Kevin
was
Sorbo.
thinking.
No, this is the one that was on Disney Channel. John
Oh,
Candy.
the one after the animated Disney one. Okay, gotcha. Sorry, go ahead. John
Yeah,
Candy, yes.
John Candy
Yes.
played the state trooper, and he played Del Griffith in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Chevy Chase was the newscaster, and he's probably most well known for playing Clark Griswold on the Vacation series of movies.
That must have been interesting to get him on this movie.
Not as interesting as Waylon Jennings, who played the truck driver.
Yes.
And of course, he is a very famous country music artist.
Yes.
And this is one of the few movies he's actually been in.
Honestly, watching this be like, I did not realize that was Waylon Jennings until like a little bit later on.
Until he started singing.
Until I started singing, I was like, wait, where do I recognize this? It's like, oh, it's Waylon
That's
Jennings.
Waylon Jennings.
It's Waylon Jennings.
I
Okay.
found out a long time ago that this here movie is just so.
Yeah. Joe Flattery played Sid Sleaze. And in Back to the Future Part 2, he was the Western Union man.
Oh, okay.
And Dave
I got something for you. A letter.
and
Yeah,
Dave
that guy.
Thomas, Dave Thomas played Sam Sleaze. And in Brother Bear, he played Took, one of the moose in that film.
Yes. That's because he's
Lorraine-
one of the brothers from the Great White North, eh?
Exactly. Lorraine Newman played the mother Dodo, and in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, she played Frog-Eyed Woman. Brian Hofeld played Daddy Dodo, and he is actually the creator of the Transformers Rescue Bots TV series.
Huh.
Kathy Silvers played Marie Dodo, and she played Jenny Piccolo on Happy Days. And we've got Eddie Deason playing Donnie Dodo, who plays every stereotypical nerd anytime you need him in a film.
When I
But
saw this
Malcolm
name in the
from
credits, I went, yes.
Yes. Well, anytime he is the same voice every time. I picture him. I point him out every time he's there, because I'm just hearing Mandark from Dexter's Lab every time,
Wait, but
which
when
was
you
really
got
weird
something,
in Polar Express.
when you got something that works, you use it, and he does it well.
Very true.
Granted. Martin P. Robinson played Mr. Snuffleupagus, Telly Monster, one of the Board of Birds, and a Grouch diner patron. He was actually an animatronic puppeteer for Leonardo in the 1990s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Fascinating.
Sally Kellerman played Mrs. Finch, and she played Major Margaret Hot Lips Houlihan in the film version of MASH.
Oh, yeah.
Allison Court played Ruthie, the farm girl, where that lets Big Bird sleep in the barn. She will actually come up later in this episode because she plays Jubilee in the X-Men animated series.
Really?
Yeah. That's cool.
She is the only character that was the only kid I put in here because I wanted to. I decided to leave most of the kids off because they're not really playing much.
Yeah.
She's the only one I added back in because this afternoon I was doing my research for the X-Men stuff and thought that name looks familiar. Where do I remember seeing that name?
What a coincidence.
And I went back and go, oh, it's her.
So from now on, all the movies that you review have to be directly related to someone in the X-Men animated series until you finish the series.
As hard as that is for Kingdom Hearts, I don't think we're gonna be that lucky again.
I believe in you. You can do it.
So just a good reminder, which kid was this?
This was the girl on the farm.
Oh, okay.
With her little brother
in the barn.
Oh, okay.
And they were singing "Easy Going."
Yeah.
Yeah.
The rest of these people have no roles outside of Sesame Street. So, but they're pretty much the live action characters, characters from the show. That would be Linda Bove as Linda, Emilio Delgado as Louis, Loretta Long as Susan, Sonia Manzano as Maria, Bob McGrath as Bob, Roscoe Orman as Gordon, and Elena Reed Hall as Olivia. And as I maybe have hinted at a second ago, Kingdom Hearts connections, there were absolutely, positively none. So, yeah. What do we got in info and stuff?
IMDb had a 6.7 out of 10. It's on YouTube for free. Production was Children's Television Workshop. Distribution by Warner Brothers. Released on August 2nd, 1985. Box office. Its opening box office for the U.S. and the Canada was $2.4 million on August 4th of the same year.
Wow.
Its U.S. and Canada gross was $13.9 million, and it's the same worldwide. Home release. This film was first released on VHS and Laserdisc in 1986, and was re-released on VHS 3 times by Warner Brothers Family Entertainment, starting in 1993. Then a second time in 1999, and a third time in 2002, and also on DVD. They changed the logo, blah, 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 blah. Another DVD release in 2004, which was a reissue for a 25th anniversary edition in 2009.
Which the 25th anniversary edition is the version that's on YouTube.
Yes.
I did some other little research on that, and there are slight edits on all of those versions, and it's not till the 25th anniversary. It's completely uncut.
Yeah. With the
for one reason or another.
Yeah. This,
nothing major.
2009 25th anniversary edition, which we watched on YouTube, was with the original theatrical widescreen release with new bonus features and cover art inserted. So yeah, I there was no mention of a sequel unless be like I totally missed it, and people can be like, hey, there was this movie I really liked.
Well, there was plenty of straight to video Sesame Street films, but it's hard to call any of those a sequel.
Right.
Follow that bird again. 2.
I was just thinking, technically Big Bird in this is 6 years old.
You're right. He's always,
or at least
he's been 6 since 1969, which is when the Sesame Street first aired.
Yeah.
And he's technically 6 in 2023, isn't he?
Yes. Kind of like a certain Pokemon master.
He actually did age over the course of those years, but it was only a year. There was a birthday episode. I just don't know when it was. Anyway, getting into the summary for this film. The Feathered Friends Board of Birds, an organization whose purpose is to place stray birds with nice bird families, discusses the case of Big Bird. The social worker, Miss Finch, is sent to Sesame Street to find and bring Big Bird to a worthy family of dodos in Ocean View, Illinois. However, he begins to feel uncomfortable with them as they all think poorly of non-birds, and reaches his breaking point when they suggest he should have a bird as a best friend instead of Mr. Snuffleupagus, who is watching over his nest back on Sesame Street. When Big Bird leaves the dodos' home to return to Sesame Street, he ends up on the news where Mrs. Finch tells reporter Kermit the Frog that she intends to find him and bring him back to the dodos. His friends on Sesame Street also see the news and band together to locate him before Mrs. Finch does, and take several vehicles on their quest. After Bob instructs them to head to Toadstool, Indiana to meet up with him. While on the way home, he hitches a ride with a trucker who encourages him to persevere and later meets two kids named Ruthie and Floyd at a farm who allow him to sleep in their barn overnight. The next morning, Miss Finch arrives and he sneaks away in a haystack. Two con artist brothers named Sid and Sam Sleaze, who operate a fraudulent carnival called the Sleaze Brothers Fun Fair, plot to catch Big Bird and put him on display for profit. When he arrives in Toadstool, Mrs. Finch does so at the same time and chases him there. After escaping her, Big Bird meets the Sleaze Brothers at the carnival and asks if they have a place for him to hide, resulting in them putting him in a cage and deciding to paint him blue and tout him as the Blue Bird of Happiness. Though he sings sadly about wishing to be back home, despite this, he brings in plenty of customers. After the show, two kids sneak backstage to see Big Bird, who asks them to call Sesame Street to inform his friends of his whereabouts. The next morning, his friends sneak into the circus tent and try to set him free. However, the Sleaze Brothers quietly wake up, and just as Linda unlocks the cage, they drive off in the truck, and while Big Bird is still in it. Gordon and Olivia give chase in Gordon's Volkswagen Beetle and successfully rescue him after he jumps from the moving truck. Shortly afterwards, a police officer pulls the Sleaze Brothers over for speeding and arrests the pair on various charges, including theft of an apple. Upon arriving back on Sesame Street, Big Bird is happy to be back home. His happiness is short-lived when Mrs. Finch arrives to place him with another bird family, still insisting that Big Bird would be happier with his own kind. However, Maria tells him that he is happy on Sesame Street, where it does not matter if his family consists of humans, monsters, grouches, and other species. Considering Maria's statement and realizing how far his friends went to bring him back, a sympathetic Miss Finch officially declares Sesame Street to be his home and happily leaves her with her job complete. As everyone celebrates his return, Oscar the Grouch gets carried around the block in his trash can by Bruno the Trash Man in order to get over everyone's happiness. Getting into the trivia for this one, this was Jim Henson's final performance as Kermit the Frog, as well as Ernie and other characters in a theatrical feature.
Oh, so sad.
I went with the sad one first.
Yeah.
When did Take Manhattan?
Muppets Take Manhattan was actually before this.
Really?
By about a year, I believe.
Okay.
Actually,
all right, go ahead. Sorry.
That up for me right quick. I'm not 100% certain because, like I said, I thought this was. Yeah. Because Muppets Take Manhattan we've already reviewed. I think it was 84.
Yeah, it's 84. How about that?
One second.
Carol Spinney broke down in tears after filming the song "I'm So Blue."
Aww.
Can imagine.
When the Count is counting the end credits, he says, "Hi, Mom," when Joan Gans Cooney's name appears.
Yeah.
She is the creator of Sesame Street and the founder of its production company, the Children's Television Workshop. She is sometimes referred to as the mother of Sesame Street. When Big Bird is being welcomed home at the end of the movie, you get a quick glimpse of a character in a window that is definitely a demon in the I mean, Elmo. The movie was made before he was even considered a character on the show.
Wow.
That's right.
The airline that Big Bird takes to Illinois is CTW, referring to Children's Television Workshop, the name of the production company. And it has since been renamed Sesame Workshop. The flight number is 1138, which might be a reference to George Lucas's film THX 1138, though I consider that a stretch. According to Noel McNeil, after filming the footage of Big Bird on the farm with Ruthie and Floyd, the filmmakers discovered that the film was badly scratched and unusable. The actors, crew, and performers had to return to the same location, but it was months later and in winter. Many of the green leaves the audience sees are spray painted, and after each take, the kids would run to put their coats on.
Wow.
The scene with Big Bird running from Ernie and Bert's approaching plane is a spoof on the visually very similar scene from the Alfred Hitchcock film North by Northwest.
Yeah.
in which Cary Grant's character hides in a cornfield after a crop duster attack. The subsequent pesticide cloud in this version is replaced by Bert's falling bottle cap collection. Why he had his bottle cap collection with him is beyond my knowledge.
For that gag.
Exactly. Big Bird is the only character that
Mr. Snuffleupagus?
Big Bird is the only character that Mr. Snuffleupagus, or Snuffy, interacts with throughout the entire movie, due to being released prior to season 17 premiere, where Snuffy was finally revealed to the adults on the street. He was. They just thought he was a imaginary character up to that point.
But no one else can see him except
Big Bird.
Big Bird.
Yeah.
Oscar's license plate reads Scram. The Count's license plate reads 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Well, 10. I was going to say 1, 0, but 10. The license plate of the turkey truck in which Big Bird gets a ride from Waylon Jennings during the song Ain't No Road Too Long reads Gobble.
Poignant.
Of the main regular cast of the show appearing in this film, only Northern Calloway, who plays David, was absent because he was barred from entering Canada where the movie was filmed. Due to a criminal record dating back to an incident on September 19th, 1980, when he went on a violent, frenzied rampage in Nashville, Tennessee due to mental illness. It was fairly kept under wraps, so he who sought medical help could resume work on the show later after the incident.
Wow.
Dang.
This was up until a couple years later. More incidents ultimately caused his dismissal from the show in 1989. He died in 1990 at the age of 41, just 4 months before the similarly untimely passing of Jim Henson, who also worked on this film.
Wow.
The Sleaze brothers, played by Joe Flattery and Dave Thomas, are pulled over by a state trooper, played by John Candy. All three are veterans of the TV show SCTV from 1976. The news reporter, played by Chevy Chase, opens his broadcast by quoting the theme song from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, another PBS Kids production which became popular during the same period as Sesame Street. The set for Sesame Street was, of course, recreated in Toronto for the film, since it was normally filmed in Boston, I believe. Or is it New York City? I don't remember. Oscar the Grouch only uses one arm, his left, throughout the entire film, even when he's driving his sloppy jalopy. He only has one hand on the steering wheel at all times. In the scene where Big Bird asks two children to contact Sesame Street to save him, he asks them to contact Mr. Looper's store, meaning Mr. Hooper's store. This continuing a running gag from the show in which he would always mispronounce Mr. Hooper's name. Which this was after Mr. Hooper died. Speaking of which, when Big Bird leaves Sesame Street, a sad classical music song is playing. It is Antonio Vivaldi's Concerto for Lute with two violins and I can't even pronounce half of that because it's Italian. It was used in a short film called Sad Flower Film by fans in an early episode of the show. And after being featured in several episodes through the years, that short film was featured in Farewell, Mr. Hooper from 1983, episode number 1839, directly after the segment where Big Bird is told by the people of Sesame Street of Mr. Hooper's, Will Lee's, passing, which augmented its sad atmosphere. With this in consideration, the song may have been selected as fan service to similarly permeate the sad, dramatic atmosphere of Big Bird leaving Sesame Street. So now that was bookended by two sad moments, Paul, what's your first like for this film?
My first like and my number one like of this film are the songs in it. They specifically the Ain't No Road Too Long and the Easy Going song. They're just earworms in my head, and I've been singing them to myself the past couple days since I watched this film. More so than any other scene or anything in this movie. So well, they're not like the best songs ever, but they are a little catchy.
I grant. Yeah. Yes, I agree. In fact, that's probably going to be one of my first like on this film also, because some of the songs are just kind of okay, but I don't know. Waylon Jennings singing a duet with Big Bird is not something I was expecting to see.
And you
And
don't think it would pull off, but it does. It's not bad.
No,
it
it's,
does.
it's,
It works,
it's well
it works
executed.
fine. I mean, granted, Big Bird does not sing on key, but I don't think he ever really does.
He's a bird. What do you expect?
I expect a bird to be able to sing because birds sing. But then I don't know what kind of bird Big Bird is supposed to be. So
There.
Yeah, he sings throughout the film. La 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 la.
Yeah, exactly.
La la la.
yeah, but you know what I mean. But for the most part, yeah, those different times throughout the week since I watched the film, those two songs have popped up in my mind at different times, just because they are such earworms. Granted, it's just the chorus.
Yeah.
I don't remember any of the verses or anything like that, but
Yeah.
still.
Yeah, it's a lot catchier than some of the songs that are on the radio today. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
Very true.
and I have to
Was the
I,
80s.
despite the fact I don't remember the song, but at the very beginning, the Grouch national anthem
Oh, I love that.
was hilarious. In fact, that thing came on and thought, are we getting a Patton reference?
We
in the
are.
Sesame Street film.
There's a lot of Easter eggs that
There
adults
are.
would recognize that kids
Right,
would
which-
not. Yeah.
things I don't expect
Yep.
in a Sesame Street film.
Yeah, that's very true.
But yeah, I loved that whole sequence, and I don't remember the song exactly, but I remember thinking, well, at the end when Oscar says, "Now that you've seen the best part of the film, you might as well sit through the rest of it." I thought, I wonder how true that is.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So my first like of this film would be more the angle of the family story of where what's the bird who comes in Sesame Street and says, Big Bird, you got to come with us because
Mrs. Finch.
Miss Finch. Because at one point I think I hear Big Bird say her name, but
He screams her name a couple times.
yeah, he
in
does.
this
Miss
film.
Finch.
Oh.
But either or.
When she
enjoy-
came on screen, I physically cringed just because I remember not liking her and what she did. But anyway, yeah.
Oh, the first time Miss Finch showed up on screen, I thought, "There's the villain."
Yeah, there's the villain. Exactly.
There's only
there's
one,
the villain.
because nobody else in this bird council has got the gumption to go do anything outside of just have board meetings.
Yeah. That's why they're bored.
Exactly. They're boarded birds.
Exactly.
My first like would be the family aspect of the movie where Miss Finch comes in and says, Big Bird, be like, you should be living with your own kind and that kind of stuff, blah, 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 blah.
I have opinions on that later. But
Well,
continue.
I do too, but the fact that be like Miss Finch wants to pull Big Bird out of the family that he's only known because of her, I guess, more biases towards birds are superior to everybody else. I would assume, and it makes that really nice little contrast of where like people who think you belong here, people think you belong here, and they think they're doing it for good reasons according to them. But be like the people you're around, be like your family or your like our case like a church family or the friends you have that. Like maybe people might not be like, it's like, well, they're not your kind of people. It's well, they're my kind of people. And I'll be like, I enjoy that aspect where definitely Miss Finch kind of comes to a realization. It's like, oh, be like, he actually really likes it here. Maybe I shouldn't have to force him to go do something he really doesn't want to do. And with the mindset or the concept that Big Bird is literally a 6-year-old. He's literally like, oh, okay, I'll go and do this. And he realizes he doesn't like this at all. And Ms. Finch is constantly chasing him down. It's like, oh, you have to do this. And be like this idea of family, this idea of kinship with others. And you don't have to be the same species or something like that. But like you can get into like other little things here and there. But the idea be like if it's the people you like hanging out with and the people that be like love you, like actually love you, that's people you should be with and not be like people telling you it's like, oh no, be like, you should be over here because these are your people. It's like,
that's racist.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just go ahead and start going into my dislikes.
Yeah. But I love that aspect of the movie. It's where Miss Finch is using more of a racial biases because towards birds superior to everybody else, and it's just like, hey, Big Bird just he just loves everybody because he's a big 6-year-old. He just loves everybody, and I enjoy that about the film.
Well, that's very similar to my second like, if I can dive into that.
Go right for it.
And that's the fact that, in Sesame Street, in the show, they showed different kinds of people and creatures like you were talking about. Yeah. But in this movie, they got to explore, like you saw birds, the bird kind all hanging out together. And like the dodos have that different kind of house. So they opened up the world even more. And what I really liked is like the grouch kind and what it was like to be amongst all the grouches, like at the diner and stuff. And it just, and for already a vast open world that Sesame Street is, I liked how this movie opened it up even more, focusing on the different kinds in their communities.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's kind of what my second like was going to be also.
Nice.
Very nice.
I love the visual style of the movie where it's like, you're going to go live with a bunch of birds. Where do they live? Oh, they live in a birdhouse. Yeah. And what does said birdhouse looks like? It looks like a giant house for a bird, as in it's on a pole and it's high above the rest of the houses around them. It's like, oh, that makes sense in a strange way.
Yeah.
And of course, grouches exist, so of course there would be dining establishments designed for them, which I have to say, that joke about the tossed salad, that was my favorite joke in the whole film. Because it's like, what would you eat if you're in there? She's just tossed salad. I'm thinking, what's tossed in the salad?
Getting tossed.
What is tossed in the salad? and they just start launching salads with catapults and going, yep, that's how I think about it. That
looked like a fun scene to film.
Yeah.
Oh, I can imagine.
But other little things, like I'm kind of merging this in there, but it's the logic kind of behind this film, because I can just imagine this is not the first time Big Bird has been around Mr. Gordon's Volkswagen. He knows he's not supposed to stand up, and he knows he's not supposed to jump. He's been told this, and he's a good boy. Right. He doesn't want to do this, and for once, he looks like he's allowed to jump, do this very dangerous stunt. Granted, at probably 2 miles an hour, probably. Because it did not look like they were going very fast. But he's allowed to do this. It's like, and he doesn't want to. It's like, but I'm breaking the rules, Mr. Gordon. It's like, will you just jump, you stupid bird?
Hey, I'm going to ignore the rule for one time. Just jump in the car.
This one time. You can do this, Big Bird. But I'm not even supposed to be standing. In fact, I'm supposed to be sitting down. Gosh. It's like, what are you going to say next, Big Bird, that you're supposed to be wearing your seatbelt? Because this would have been around the time they would have been promoting seatbelts.
Yeah, that's true. 86, 85.
So, yeah, I mean, just the logic behind this film. There's no reason any of this should actually be the way it is, except random stuff across the years has caused this lore of sorts to build up that was never really intended to be lore.
Yeah.
But they stayed with it even in this film. So yeah, I appreciated strangely enough, the Sesame Street lore present in the film.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, so going into my second like, kind of rolling back to my first, it reminded me of a verse in scripture in Galatians 3:28. There's neither Jew nor Greek. There is neither slave nor free. There's nor male or female, for you are all in Christ Jesus. So that reminds me so much of the body of Christ, that we were this amalgamation of different people from different people, different strokes, and we all have different backgrounds and the whole bit. Be like, we're not all the same,
right?
Yeah, like you take like the church we go to, it's very blended in a lot of ways, and that's what I enjoy about it, because you meet different people, or you're friends with different people that you would never met. And the notion, the racist idea that be like, oh, you need to hang out with your own people, is just like, that's not the way God intended it. We're both just kind of just to be together as people, and that's just what I enjoy about this film. I thought I would bring that up.
Yeah. There's neither monster nor Muppet.
Yeah,
On-
exactly. Exactly.
Bird or Snuffleupagus.
Bird or
Yeah.
Snuffleupagus. So going into my second like.
No, that wasn't even your second like.
No,
that
it
was
wasn't.
just I had this thought and I wanted to go ahead and cover it right quick.
Yeah. So this is a very simple film, but it doesn't play down to its audience. It doesn't make the audience feel like they're dumber, be like they're stupid because they're children. These are for preschoolers, and they play to that strength. The writers know who their audience is, and it's like in some films would be like, obviously the writers don't know who their audience is, so they're writing above, the intelligence level or the vocabulary level of, like, I've seen sermons in a youth group once where the youth minister in question had just finished his, I think it was his master's degree, and he was just on this high of everything he knew, and he was just going way over these kids' heads. And one of the students actually had to stand up and be like, we have no idea what you're talking about. So these writers knew what they were talking about, knew their audience, and went to their level with it, and made it where it was engaging for that audience, and for parents who were in the audience with their preschoolers. But I enjoyed that for what it was, because I think we have reviewed films where it was obviously be like they weren't playing to the strength of the audience, like most of the movies we review are for kids.
Yeah.
Or like young adults, and they're shooting way over kids' heads with everything that's going on. It's like, are you sure? Be like, is this the right audience you're projecting to, or you just want to write a story and like this is what it is? And I like they play to the audience's strength of who they are as preschoolers. So yeah, that's my second like.
All right. Y'all ready to jump into dislikes then?
Yeah, let's jump headlong to what we don't like about this film.
I'm sure there's a lot. Paul, why don't you go ahead and start us off?
Well, my number one like is the songs. My number one dislike is the songs. Because man, there are several songs, and I mean, kudos to the people for trying to, come up with some songs, and some they're fine, but man, whenever they come on, even the good ones, the pacing just slows down to a halt, and it is very easy to get distracted. And some of the songs are, like I said, they're fine by themselves, but in this movie, it's kind of like, does it really need to be here? Is this film better for it? I don't. Well, the pacing sure isn't, but
that's true.
Yeah.
So yeah, the songs, unfortunately.
I'm not a fan of the racist birds throughout this whole film.
No, you think?
Granted, I get that.
They're trying to do the right thing.
They are.
They do the right
thing. They
thing.
have good intentions.
Agreed.
And if it were,
Most racist birds don't have good intentions, but these ones
That's
do.
I don't know. The ones in Dumbo seemed fine.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't think they're racist. I guess I'm on the minority on that one.
I'm mostly joking because it's been too long since I've seen Dumbo to form an opinion. And I just lost my train of thought. No, I don't like the fact that I know why they needed enemies.
Yeah.
And enemies with good intentions, because you don't want people thinking they're, granted, I would have been fine with an evil villain for evil's sake, but I get why they wanted to have a villain that was, granted, the Sleaze brothers are the evil for evil's sake. They're just greedy beyond belief.
Yeah.
But the birds, it's like, I get why they're there. They're trying to do the best they can. Admittedly, it does make sense. You would want to take a homeless bird and have them get them adopted by another bird family, because a bird family would probably do good about being able to take care of a bird. I get that. At the same time, Big Bird is 6 years old, has pretty much been living on his own with this very strong network of friends and family around Sesame Street.
Right.
Why does he need to, at this point, finally need to have be renested?
Because he never leaves those couple blocks. He needs to explore.
Have you not seen the opening of Sesame Street? He walks all over Central Park.
One of the things, he's been to London, he's been to
China. Hey, Big Bird nearly went into space.
Yeah, I'm so glad he didn't.
Exactly. So, I mean,
yeah. I
also don't know how.
All right,
that would
I
have
take
worked.
it back. Big Bird's been outside of Sesame Street before. I get it.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I get why they do what they're doing, and I get the logic, but it's, at the same time, it's like, it's such a setup for such a simple lesson that it takes all kinds. It's not that I know we don't remember that half the time, and that's good to teach kids that, you know, you don't want to teach racism, and it does do good to show racism in a bad light. But at the same time, it's just like, do you have to keep saying you must be with your own kind? Can you not make that just a little bit more subtle? Just a little bit, not a lot. It's just they said that line so many times. Like, we get it. You're a racist. Move on.
It disturbed, honestly.
Or speciesist, I guess, technically. But
yeah, I get that. For some reason, it disturbed me more that Big Bird had Big Brother watching him and knowing that he was by himself, not of his own kind, on a little nest in Sesame Street. Like, who's documenting this and passing it out to people?
And why did it take 6 years? I'm assuming on a sliding time scale, because it'd been over 20 physical years since the first episode. Why has no one ever thought to take care of him before now? And I guess I can understand bureaucracy probably would have slowed things up, but
exactly.
Still.
Red tape.
No one.
And they would have gone through all the colors of the tape on Sesame Street. So I'm glad they didn't do that.
Yeah. Anyway, it's just, I felt that aspect of the movie could have been handled better. Jacob?
Compound word. Toadstool.
Okay. What about toadstool?
Toadstool.
Toadstool is a word.
Yes, I know toadstool is a word.
And it's a city.
Word. And it's a city.
And it's a kingdom.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
and it's a princess.
My main problem with this, movie, it's so just like everything's just like, it's like, oh, obviously be like, oh, we're gonna be even toadstool. Obviously be like, it's so just like, I'm looking for the word and I can't. It's right.
Convenient.
The convenience of everything just lining up in this little town Toadstool. When be like, you have all these, you know, it's a freaking 1980s. There's interstates and everything. This bird can went anywhere except for Toadstool, and everybody just happened to go to Toadstool. Well, that's where everything convened was Toadstool.
Yeah,
and so
I can kind of see that.
Yeah, it was just more the simple convenience that everything just happened to just line up perfectly with no like real rhyme or reason whatsoever, because you're dealing with a preschool audience, so you can't make anything hard or complicated unless you have a really, really smart preschooler. And it's just like the plot itself was so convenient for everything, especially with everything convening and converging into Toadstool, the city of Toadstool. And I was just more like, really?
See, I would be more fine with it had they not said, once you get to Toadstool, call us and we'll let you know if you don't see Big Bird. It's like, why can't you just happen to meet Big Bird in a random city? Why do you have to tell us you're going to meet him in Toadstool in like half an hour into the movie?
Yeah.
So yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it's just like granted, this was the 1980s, and be like, there was other highways and the whole bit. Be like, they just assumed, oh yeah, he's gonna be in Toadstool, and voila, he's in Toadstool.
You sound like you have some experience in life, Jacob, where things, from your perspective, have not been as convenient for you, and this has triggered something in that arena.
No, I don't like just very simple conveniences.
Yeah.
Like it's I'm over analytic, so I'd be like, thank you very much.
No, I get it. It's a little too simple for this simple story.
Yeah, way too simple. And be like,
You could have just had them meet there and not have drawn attention to it. It would have been fine.
yeah. But they drew attention to it so much, and it's like they were gonna be like, I enjoyed in my second like that they played to their audience, but at the same time they didn't in this aspect. Be like little. I'd be like, have you been around preschoolers? But like sometimes be like, you can get a really really smart preschooler. It's just like, oh, okay, I wasn't expecting that out of a little kid, and be like, little kids are smarter than you think, and this very easily simple convenience plot point be like, I think for me what has drove me nuts, I'm like, really? Like they should have went here. That would have been me, but that's me nitpicking the film. It was so convenient that everything showed up in Toadstool.
This are we on seconds?
Yeah, I've just got mine. I just finished mine, so going to Paul.
Oh, that's right, because I went and then you. Okay, go ahead, Paul.
So my second dislike is you previously mentioned, Drew, that this is Muppet Light, like Diet Muppet.
Diet Muppet.
Diet Muppet.
I mean, they are technically Muppets.
Yes. So, and I absolutely 100% agree. And I was trying to figure out why. And I think it's because we have some of these characters that are too over the top and too silly, like the Sleaze Brothers.
Yeah.
Are especially the Sleaze Brother, especially the one played by Joe Flattery is just all the other Muppet movies. Yes, you have adults, human adults in there, and they're a little over the top, but you can you kind of go with it. This is just another level over the top, and I think the movie suffers for it. Do 5-year-olds like over the top silliness? Yes. But do the adults watching it with their 5-year-olds like it? No. And I think this movie could have been better if they just toned the silliness down. I think it would have been, I think it could have helped that. Make it feel more like a Muppet movie rather than
I can see that.
Less than.
I to have, this is kind of my second dislike also. It is almost too simple a story. And granted, I know this is being aimed squarely at preschoolers. And I know preschoolers, and I know they have to hit as broad an audience of preschoolers as possible. So you can't go too smart, you can't go too stupid.
Right.
That sounded bad, the way I worded that, but you know what I mean.
He's being hateful toward preschoolers.
I am not being hateful towards preschoolers.
That's ageist. Go with your own kind.
Ageist. Anyway, I get that they're having to aim for a broad audience of preschoolers, and we're just really lucky that they didn't try to shove a lot of like educational stuff down our throats. The closest we got to was at the very beginning when Big Bird says, "This episode of Sesame Street is brought to you by the letter W and B," and I thought, I get it. I get the joke now. That's actually clever because there's actually little tiny bits of cleverness throughout the whole film.
I agree.
And then there's just like,
and I appreciated that. Yeah,
go to
absolutely.
Toadstool. Why? I don't know. We might meet Big Bird there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could have. Yeah, a little more cleverness with the names and such might have been fun, but yeah.
I mean, I thought it was funny that that Big Bird's Dodo family was in Ocean View, Illinois, nowhere near an ocean. Like
no, yeah, that was funny.
I find the interesting sarcasm there, or the that peculiarness. And then when they were showing Big Bird's flight over the map, you of course didn't show any of the big cities you're used to seeing, like New York and Chicago and all this. You're seeing like these other little bitty towns they made up names for. That was like, okay, that's cute and all. But you get to the actual story and it's like, we kind of just stop the story every time kids show up. And then we get to, I know you said Bug Tussle, Toadstool. We get to Toadstool, and it's like, oh, and
And there's
Big
no
Bird's
Mushroom
gonna get.
Kingdom.
Yeah, this is not the Mushroom Kingdom. I don't see a Mario around here.
Oh,
Of course, this would be around at the time Mario was getting started too.
very
But
true.
you get to Toadstool. I'm thinking, okay, this is interesting. Of course, it's a little small town. They're having their Toadstool festival. So, of course, there's a marching band that Big Bird's going to get tangled up in as he's trying to escape from Miss Finch. That's funny. That's interesting. So, really wish they had Toadstool Queen, like you see in all these little local
Anything
whatever thing is,
referencing a mushroom.
Queen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
the only thing they had was the sign that said "Welcome to Toadstool." It's like,
Right.
why Toadstool? Can you give me something? You decided to name this one little town Toadstool. Was this like, I don't know. Well, is this like this area's major export? Is toadstools? What's going on here? I don't know.
Yeah.
Thinking too hard about it. Part of my issue here. But,
No.
yeah. Anyway, the fact that the two Sleaze brothers have such a hard. It's not that they have a hard time catching Big Bird, because I really like that part where they're got that net pushed out the truck. That's going to be too small to catch Big Bird.
Yeah.
We know this
Yeah.
already. And of course, Big Bird just barely misses getting caught because he happened to bend over to pick something up. It's like, that's
Right.
clever. That's funny. But then the rest of the time, it's like, Sleaze brothers, how come you're having such a hard time finding a 6-year-old giant bird that is within 10 miles of you? He's kind of going to stand out like a sore thumb. There's only so far I can go because he's on foot. Because he gets a ride the one time from Waylon Jennings near the beginning of the film. So the rest of the time he's on foot. So, I mean, you should be able to catch back up with him at some point. The fact that it was nearly the end of the film when he gets caught because he's looking for a place to hide, it just confused me that was like, why would you save this for the last minute instead of I don't know. I guess I was just wanting more. This is gonna sound bad, but I was wanting Big Bird to be in more peril
Yeah.
than he actually was.
Makes sense.
Because
You don't want kids to be too scared, though.
I know, but I mean, at least if Big Bird was caught by the Sleaze brothers, it'd be like Pinocchio. We were fine with Pinocchio getting caught by the puppeteer.
Yeah. True.
It's kind of the same thing. I don't know. It just felt, even when the Sleaze brothers make an entrance, I was looking at them going, why are we showing you two watching this news report right now? Because we haven't introduced you at all. This is your introduction. I have no idea who you are.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we'll see more of you.
Yeah, it's like, it's weird. It's just, there's parts of this that is clever, and then it's immediately it's immediately flummoxed by things that are so simple. It's too much of a juxtaposition between the cleverness and the simpleness. That's the best way I know how to put it.
Gotcha.
Throughout the entire film, and that kind of bugged me a little bit.
Well, don't you see in Sesame Street, there's neither cleverness nor simpleness. You're all one. It's all mixed.
You know what I mean?
No, I get it. It is frustrating. I know what you mean.
Yes.
In some ways, I kind of wish it was more like what I remember from Sesame Street, and would have random little like animations throughout, peppered throughout it from time to time for no good reason too. So I don't know what I'm expecting to see in there, because we did get at least one animation with Big Bird imagining what his new family would look like, but still. And that animation was good.
True, it was.
Anyway.
So my second dislike of this film, one scene that drove me nuts, and well, most scenes with Oscar the Grouch made no sense.
Oh no.
For me anyway.
He's the opposite. He's kind of like,
well, yeah, I know.
You just got to go with the opposite of what he says.
I'm aware of this. I'm fully and cottonly aware that he is opposite of everybody else. Be like, he's Oscar the Grouch for a reason.
Right.
The scene in particular that kind of just irked me a little bit was the scene where Oscar be like, it's just a scene that comes out of nowhere and there's no context to anything. It's literally Oscar rolls up in what was it?
The sloppy jalopy?
No, not sloppy jalopy. No, he showed up in that junkyard. He showed up in the junkyard, and there was just like this one little scene. It was done, and it was just like, what is this?
Oh.
There's no there's no built to context of what's going on in the story. It's like, oh, Oscar Grouch just wants to go there, and he's being stubborn. It's just like, okay, and then he immediately goes somewhere else, and it's never picked up again
because he's a grouch.
Right.
I agree with that, but there again, it's
trash.
Yeah.
What I thought you were going to say they said that she said it was the wrong way, and then like a scene or two later, like he's caught up. Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
I don't have a problem with him showing up at the junkyard or forcing them to go to the Grouch diner or anything, because that just seems like who Oscar the Grouch is. You're lucky you got him to drive his car or go look for Big Bird.
That is true.
Kind of put up with the fact that he's going to go sightsee at all these big Grouch monuments, which the rest of us wouldn't care about seeing.
Right.
And granted, he does catch up very quickly with.
Yeah, they all do.
Which it's just
Yeah,
like I remember what I said about the simpleness and cleverness juxtaposition. That's kind of it.
That's kind of it. But at the same time, it was just more like me, like doing this for 4 years. I'm like, it was one of those little nitpicks. I was like, what in the world is going on here?
Also, you could have left out Count Von Count driving his car, because he doesn't show up half the film.
That is
he
true.
has no scenes once they leave Sesame Street.
True.
Well, he's counting the telephone poles or something.
Oh gosh.
Oh, trust me, when I didn't watch all of the credits because I didn't have that kind of time, but I fast forwarded to the end just to see, was there some other little joke? And the fact that he says the 214 credits. I
thought that was great. I love end credit scenes.
I love that you did that. But the thought process was like, I'm just so glad you weren't counting frames.
Oh gosh.
I don't need to know how many frames were in this film, and yet I bet you know.
Yeah. That ending credit scene where it's Count Von Count. Like, there again, I grew up with Sesame Street. I don't know who these characters are.
Well, you almost called him Count Chocula. That's a different
I
character.
almost did.
It's an entirely different character.
Count Von Count.
Count Chocula was in a movie we reviewed.
Really?
Oh my gosh, don't remind me of that piece of junk. Trash. Nah. But either or. Oh my gosh. But yeah, just like kind of a like bonus. It was more like that ending. It's like, okay, Count, we get it. Your Count stuff. Can we move forward? No, we're continue this. I'm like, oh my, I can imagine.
That's what he does.
I know, but I can imagine the horror of the adults having to sit there and listen to this. I'm like, I'd be like, okay, we need to leave. No, it's still going.
Yeah.
Why can't we leave?
It doesn't go that long. It only goes to
I know
before the cast list, and then he disappears until the very end again.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'd be like,
thankfully.
Yeah.
It would have been great if he came out at the very end and said, 5,280 seconds we have just wasted of your life.
Yes! You shall do this 37 more times once Marvel starts making movies.
Oh, man, that was good.
Anywho.
I think we need to rate this thing.
Yeah, I do think we need to rate this. Paul, what are you rating this film on a scale from 1 to 10?
From a scale of 1 to 10, well, my co-host Francisco Ruiz of the Retro Rewind podcast made a point for me to send this message to say that the rating of this film and every film has to be 3.5. If you reference the Fire and Ice show before with you guys. Yeah. But if you follow that logic, if you rate everything 3.5, then what's the point of having a rating? So I'm going to go off and
exactly.
I'm going to rate this in honor of Big Bird being 6 years old. I'm going to rate this a solid 6.
All right. Fair.
Right in the middle.
It's probably the most fair rating. Yeah.
Yeah. Just a little bit above, right in the middle. Good.
Of course. think we're back. We weren't gone.
Yeah,
that
we're back.
long.
Welcome back.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's all right.
You were saying it was right in the middle, but anyway,
It was right above the middle. Yes.
right. I'm pretty much going to agree with that. I'm actually going to be a little bit nicer, give it a 6.5, just because I did enjoy my viewing of this. It's not something I'm going to go back to anytime soon, but I mean, it was a nice, enjoyable watch. It's what I would hope for from a preschool kind of film. In fact, it's a little bit better because I expected this to be like
Barney's World.
Yeah, pretty much. I was expecting Barney the dinosaur levels of thought process, which there is a Barney movie.
Yes,
Yep.
there is.
I have not seen it.
I don't want to.
No.
I don't want to.
No. No.
So yeah, I'm gonna give it a 6.5 because it was an enjoyable watch. Just wasn't, the best movie out there.
I got you. So to mimic Captain Roy there, 3.5. It was actually a terrible film.
Really?
No, I'm not. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. No. No, I'm not gonna say that because this is a cute little gem for what it was and the story it was trying to tell. I'd be like, it's not up my alley, any fashion or form. I would probably, let's just give it a, middle of the road 6. Give it a 6.
Okay.
It's one of those films where it's like, it's kind of like retro rewind, where it's a nostalgic. It's very nostalgic. Be like, do I want to go back and watch it? No.
Fair enough. Well, on that note, join us after the bumpers, and we'll get to talking about some what we've been watching, some stuff in the news, perhaps a little interrogation, and then we'll get into some X-Men. Yeah.
This podcast is a proud member of Culture Box. Whether you enjoy geeky reviews, comedy, or original fiction, you can open up the Culture Box and find something excellent for your soul. Point your web browser to culturebox.media.
This week, we suggest the Retro Rewind podcast. Every other week, join the Retro Rewind pod as they travel back 15 years or more along the entertainment space-time continuum in their mission to review movies and games, establishing what is still worth your time today and what isn't. Expect fun banter and trivial insights from Francisco, Paul, the Master Interrupter Powers, and a rotating cast of guest hosts, all of which are out of time.
The Cellcast would like to thank the following patrons: Ashley and Francisco Ruiz, Book of Gaming, PaulJPowers.com, and Melanie Dubois.
To get your name on the show, plus uncut episodes, early access to the Cellcast Plus reviews, and special art from Jacob, please donate to us on Patreon.
So, guys, I have a question for both of y'all.
What have you been watching?
Paul, why don't you start us off?
What have I been watching? A lot of anime recently. There's always new anime coming out. I don't know how they do it, but
By Sweatshop, from what I hear.
yeah.
Yes.
Hopefully no, but like on Crunchyroll, I've been staying up to date with and I don't even know how to say some of these, like Mashal. It's basically
it's the magic fighting thing.
Yeah, it's the one hitman goes to Wizarding World, Hogwarts, basically. And I'm not joking, it's a total ripoff. But it's fun. Some of it is such a ripoff, it's laugh out loud hilarious. A couple others I've been watching is I got a cheat skill in Another World and became unrivaled in the Real World 2. It's one of those long ones.
Jeez. Yeah, that's
also,
definitely an isekai title.
Yeah.
I think it's Tonikawa Over the Moon.
Tonikawa, yeah, I started watching that. I need to finish it.
Yeah. In season 2. Have you finished season 1?
I'm still in season 1. I'm still early in season 1. As in, I've only had a chance to watch one episode of season 1.
That first one is great. That first episode, yeah, I like it.
It's got me in love with it. I just need to actually sit down and keep watching it.
Yeah.
I didn't have so many other shows.
Yeah, exactly. They're like on High Dive, I'm watching Kubo Won't Let Me Be Invisible, and there's like 10 others out there that I want to see, just don't have time. Like Dr. Stone season 3 is out. I hope to catch up with it later, but I'm still going through the Dragon Ball, the first series. I'm up
classic.
through I just started the beginning of season 5, which is King Piccolo saga on that. So
Demon King Piccolo, nice.
Yes. So that's what I've been up to lately, animation wise, for the Cell fans.
You've not watched any live action? Because we can talk about both.
Yeah, but they're not as interesting.
That's fair.
Okay.
That's fair.
So kind of springboarding off that, the isekais with way too long of names. So my girlfriend, she just got done working VBS. She loved it, had fun with it, and was very tired afterwards. If you ever worked VBS, and so we're sitting there having lunch, and I'm watching this documentary over, or this not a review or more of a review over like 10 things you didn't know about. I think it was like Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And
A, it's not a movie. It's a fan film.
Okay.
B,
okay.
So I said now there's 9 other things.
Yes, there's 9 other things. But so we're watching this, and I learned that Ashley has never watched an Indiana Jones film.
What?
Exactly.
Why am I not surprised? That's just not the kind of film I think I would expect her to watch, to be honest. Not without being prodded to do so.
Right. And plus, she's never seen Star Wars.
Well, I knew about that one.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Granted, not all of us have watched everything. Be like, I'm
sure you can't. There's so much media out there, you can't.
Yeah,
that is true.
But that being said, now you get to introduce her to this stuff, and I kind of wish I was there to a fly on the wall to get reactions.
But
if
so
she even cares.
So we're talking about the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull and how she never watched any Indiana Jones, and she was like, "It's like the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. That's a really long name." And I'm thinking, like, you don't know anything yet.
Yeah.
Like, watch these guys. Like, be like, should I, like, should I date with while going in in a dungeon or something like that? What was that?
Well, there was, is it all right to pick up girls in a dungeon?
Thank you.
There's another one I watched was that time I got reincarnated as a slime. Let's not forget Konosuba, God's blessing on this wonderful world. And 100 other long titles for no good reason.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So that just kind of reminded me of this afternoon. I was like, oh, okay. It's like, yeah, you haven't heard long titles yet, have you? Let me introduce you to something.
Heck, 2 weeks ago, we reviewed a movie that had a long title. Doctor Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. So is that an isekai?
No.
Thankfully, no.
All right.
Anyway.
So what have you been watching?
What have I been watching? I have been playing catch up on Star Trek this whole week. I went from, I think last time I said I'd watched 2 episodes, or I watched the second episode of season 1 of Strange New Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched the other 8 now.
Wow.
The last episode of season 1, it blew me out of the water. It's like, oh my word, this is good. There was times I was sitting over here giggling, well, I mean, you've heard me giggle at Star Trek before, you know. Yeah.
I've seen him geek out about Star Trek too.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! There was a point in there where I went, wait, we're not here. We shouldn't be here yet. Time travel shenanigans. What?
Yeah.
Oh, and then, holy good, they used the actual music from the episode. I never do this. They always try to redo it because we don't want to recreate 1960s music anymore because it's not the modern way to make music. No, we actually use real music in here. It's modern orchestration, but still. And then it's like, no, they actually are saying lines enough that they really should have credited the original episode writer in this episode, and they didn't, which annoys me. But that show just went from being like kind of okay, kind of good, like it's a fun show to watch, to like, oh yeah, we're doing something cool every episode. I was like, well, I'm now definitely looking forward to season 2 next week.
Yeah.
So
Is it next week?
Next Thursday.
Wow. All right.
Or probably the day this comes out. But anyway.
So a little more behind the scene. We probably talked about this before in the show, but so when we were doing Lower Decks season 1, I didn't have internet over at my house, so I would come over here and watch Lower Decks, and we would watch it and review it. So me being not the big Trekkie,
and I was waiting the show on him at the time so we could watch the show and then immediately review it.
Yes. And so it'd be like, for me being not the big Trekkie, I grew up watching the movies. And so I'm sitting there watching this movie, something happens, and Drew's like, just losing it over here. I'm not picking on him, but it was just more like it was the most joyous thing I've ever seen someone that's like, oh my gosh, he remembers this. It was such a delight to watch. I wish I would have recorded it. It was so funny. It was so.
You thought that was fun to watch. You should have seen me during Picard.
Oh, I can imagine.
Oh yeah.
Especially at the end of episode 9. But anyway.
Yeah. I was about to say, or in season 2 of Strange New Worlds with the crossover coming up.
Oh, I am so looking forward to that. In fact, I've already decided when we do come back to reviewing Lower Decks, which I don't know when we're coming back to that. Obviously, after the seasons come out, but I don't know if it's going to be immediately after Evangelion or sometime later on in the future. I've pretty much decided we're going to have to review that episode of Strange New Worlds, even though I haven't seen it yet, because I can just see it being constantly referenced throughout the season.
One would hope.
Yeah.
One would hope.
So anyway, also I watched another animated Star Trek show that at some point we may have to do on the animated series. It's a Nickelodeon Star Trek show that came out last year.
Prodigy?
Yeah.
Huh.
I've only got a couple episodes of season 1 left of that, but it's like, oh, this is actually good too. It's like, there's no reason it should be good, but it's like watching Star Wars: The Clone Wars. It's like, this is better than it has right to be because they're actually putting good thought into it.
Huh.
Nice.
There's very few times where I look at it and go, that's not how that works. It's like, no, that's how this is. That is how. It's like, oh yeah, that is how that works. How did you pull that off? And you actually explained it in a way for kids to understand what's going on without talking down to them.
Bravo.
You explained the Prime Directive where it didn't sound like it was horrible. That's amazing. So yeah, that one may have to be put on the show at some point, but I don't want to overload it with Star Trek, as you can understand.
Yes.
But other than that, all I've really watched is, besides the stuff for the show, is just YouTube videos. And nothing really specific. So,
okay. So I'm waiting with bated breath for Paramount to do a Star Trek animated movie, to where we're going to do a reaction, and then immediately when it comes out, we're going to do a review.
I'm not saying that wouldn't happen, but at the same time, I don't see this happening anytime soon.
Okay, fair enough. Fair.
Just because neither one of the animation companies, I think, could pull off a movie right now.
Fair.
But anyway.
All right. So
what we got in the news?
Well, I mean, so what I've been watching.
Oh, I thought I'm sorry.
No.
What have you been watching?
All right.
I thought you talking about Indiana Jones was it for some reason.
No.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. All right. So what I've been watching. So I was dog sitting for a church friend of ours. She had to go to town for an emergency, so I was in charge of her dogs, which wasn't very hard. Minus her little 18-year-old Chihuahua who was like to howl all the time.
All right.
Oh,
I
I'm
think
sure
Jacob wins.
You stretched your alpha dog.
I think you win, Jacob. You watched a dog. You win. Good job.
No,
I watched 3 dogs actually.
Oh wow! You win thrice.
I was saying, I'm sure you were the alpha dog for that pack. Very nice.
Oh,
thank you
for that pack.
Oh my gosh! So while I was over there, I was watching. I watched the entire season of Reacher, which is based off the Lee Child's book, The Killing Floor, which is the first Jack Reacher book. And man, that's good. That is a good series. I would highly recommend it. It's on Amazon Video.
Yeah.
Now, granted, be like, if I would not recommend this to small children at all, let's just say that, because it's a Jack Reacher book. And I'm not talking the Tom Cruise watered down version of Jack Reacher. No, Jack Reacher comes into a town and bodies start dropping.
Is this Jim from The Office?
Tom Cruise was in a Jack Reacher movie.
Yeah, he was in 2 of them. I was like, wait a minute, Jack Reacher is like a giant, and you got a guy who's 5'2" or 5'6", whatever. But so
Paul asked you a question.
Sorry, Paul.
If it was Jim from The Office playing Jack Reacher, John Krasinski.
No.
Okay.
No, that's Jack Ryan.
Yeah, that's right.
No, it is
2 different characters.
You said Jack Ryan. I thought,
Right.
no, wait, that's Chris Pine. No, that's a different movie.
Yeah, Jack Reacher.
Anyway,
Yeah. I've read both novels. They're good. I recently watched on Disney Plus a National Geographic program, Making the Wish, Disney's newest cruising line. That was very interesting. It was like, it's obviously on Disney Plus. They're trying to promote the Disney Wish, which is
the new boat, the new cruise ship,
the new cruise ship. That was fascinating how they put new modern ships together. That was very fascinating. So yeah, that's what I've been watching.
All right. So Jacob, what do we have in the news?
The Cellcast News with your host Jacob Heron.
Why, thank you, D-Lit. And while we're in the news, the only thing I could find is a new thing that's coming out on Netflix on June 23rd.
I think I know why you know about this.
Yes, I wonder, because I keep getting messages from a certain somebody on a Monster Island film vault.
Yeah, I've been getting these messages too.
Yeah, I wonder why, huh? Wait, no. The worlds of iconic movie monsters and action-packed TV animation collide in the new trailer for Skull Island, premiered globally on June 23rd, exclusively on Netflix, following the first look and full cast announcement last month. Kong fans can now get a more impressive look at this new survival action adventure in this new trailer. And so that's all I have for unless
I watched the trailer. This feels like it's like Kong might be like one episode to some degree. I mean, I'm sure he's a major role in the thing, but I mean, it felt like we're gonna be running into all sorts of monsters on this island. We're just like, well, that makes sense for the way Skull Island, the movie, was, but
true.
I don't know. This could be interesting. It just seemed a little cliched.
I gotcha.
Parts of it, but
and another piece of news that
comes out.
Another piece of news that I realized that I posted on the Facebook page is Super Mario Bros. Movie hits $1.3 billion globally, surpassing Frozen as the second highest grossing, largest animated film of all time.
If you don't count the Lion King live action.
Yeah, the live action Lion King.
Because depending on what you look at, some people count it, and it's technically made more than all of them.
Yeah. Right. But it's like, it's live action. You're like, the background plates are live action.
Maybe some of the grass is
maybe some of the grass is live action.
And that's a maybe.
Do what?
And that's a maybe.
That's a maybe.
That's a severe maybe. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So apparently the Mario brothers have stomped Frozen and becoming the second. Was it second? One second.
It should be up to second because Frozen.
Second largest animated film of all time, which is really cool because that is a good movie.
Is that Frozen or Frozen 2? Because they're both right up there. I think Frozen 2 technically made more money than Frozen.
It did.
So yeah, it's still got to beat Frozen 2, which I don't think it's going to have time to.
No, it won't.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, it's already come out on physical media.
Video. Yeah.
So But it's still in theaters.
Still in
places.
theaters. So it's like, okay.
Yeah, so that's all I have for in the news.
All right. So I think we've got a interrogation.
All right, so as most of our audiences knows, whenever we get a guest, we ask them certain questions regarding animation. So, Paul, what was the animated TV series you loved as a kid? Like, absolutely loved.
Oh,
Animated TV series.
Animated. He-Man and Voltron are the first that come to my mind as a kid. That where I know they were they were on syndication, and where it was showing with me, they were on at the same time.
Yeah,
and I would have to choose between the two. So.
Oh, fair.
Yeah,
but yeah, that's just off the top of my head.
Oh, okay.
Boom.
So
I'm not saying they're great to watch now, but
I agree. I tried to watch He-Man, I think last year, and I was like, oh my gosh, the reuse of animation. Now, granted, that company reused animation.
Filmation is really bad about reusing.
Yes,
animation.
they were so bad.
That's how they were able to make their deadlines. I mean, they kind of pioneered or like made it work for them. But yeah,
agreed.
it's a sludge fest trying to get through those.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. But so what was in your journeys through life, like, what is one of the animated movies that you love that most people don't?
Oh, okay. That's one that comes to mind is I love Planet 51 and the fact that I think that's called Planet 51.
Yeah, I think that's
where
I know which one you're talking about.
It's a 3D animated film. It all the style it goes back to the 1950s of their view of aliens, and it's like a planet full of that style of aliens, and an astronaut from Earth comes to visit. Most people just like, oh, this whatever. I love it because of all the references of back then. It's a fun turn your brain off, enjoy the film.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I had heard of this, and I think at one point I thought about putting it on the list, but it'll go on the list eventually because it sounds like one of these very oddball movies that came out in 2009.
Yeah. I remember when seeing it on end caps when I worked at Walmart.
Yeah, that's one that I love, but most people don't.
All right, favorite anime.
Favorite anime.
It's not mean.
Would be
of all time.
All time favorite. New or old?
New. Well, it's gotta be old because it's just. I think you asked me that on the last time, and I think I said it was Re:Zero for the favorite.
That's right.
Series.
It was. That's right.
So, I was trying to think. Maybe I have an anime movie off the top of my head.
Okay.
Cat Returns.
There we go.
No, and I think I said my favorite. My favorite.
Oh, it is an anime. Never mind. Yeah.
Yeah, my favorite. What do you call it? Man, I'm having such a brain fart today. The Studio Ghibli one is Princess Mononoke.
That's a good movie. That's a good movie. What's your least favorite animated movie? Least favorite animated movie.
Ooh.
Oh my gosh.
I know mine.
Well, I haven't seen Leo the Lion.
I noticed you talked about you chatted about that last night.
Yeah, and I took that advice of not waste anybody's time with that. I don't know. I'm gonna say I don't know because I try to forget those.
Okay.
That's fair.
You erase it from memory banks once you turn it off.
Yeah.
I gotcha. All right, so
I'll tell you what. Sorry to add to the interrogation. My favorite animated TV series of all time, and this is kind of a caveat. and this is my favorite TV season ever, including live action and everything, and that is Young Justice season 2. And Young Justice season 1 is fine, but when I was a kid, I was growing up. I grew up with Super Friends and Spider-Man and his Amazing Friends, and a lot of people don't like them. They're like, oh, those are crap, those shows. But that's what we had, and I loved superhero cartoons, and it was what it was. So I enjoyed it as a kid. Young Justice season 2 brings back some of those characters I enjoyed as a kid, and there's lots of plots and twists, turns in it, and it is on fire. Every episode is boom, boom, boom. Season 3 and season 4 goes back to almost season 1 level of it's kind of slow. Things happen, but
fair.
Young Justice season 2 for me is like the best of the best right there.
Oh, okay. So that was kind of going to be my my next question. Be like, if you had kids, you're married, the whole bit. I don't know your marriage status yet, but be like, if you were to show your children, I don't know if you have children or not.
No children.
If you were to no children, it'd be like, if you had children, what show would you want to show your kids?
Ones that I grew up with, I'm like, oh, you gotta make sure you watch
ones you
this.
grew up with, or stuff you recently discovered that you'd want to show your children.
I would show them the old school Looney Tunes and Disney cartoons, the ones and the Tex Avery ones. Give them some culture, some background. These are the building blocks of animation.
The Looney Tunes, Merry Melodies, Silly Symphony, all that stuff. Pink Panther.
The good stuff.
Yes. I would show them those because, I mean, those were on when I was growing up. Those were also on syndication. Every now and then you'd throw on the TV. Sometimes they'd randomly show up. Now you've got to search for them or buy them. So I've bought them on Blu-ray when they come out because I love those old style, the quality animation shorts that they have. So I would make sure that they watch those.
Oh, okay. So just a general question. Are you an 80s kid? Like, you're an 80s kid, right?
Yeah. I born in the 70s, grew up in the 80s.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Okay. I was just curious. Be like, do you remember a show? Be like, I don't know this. Do you remember a show that came out in the early 90s called Biker Mice from Mars?
Yes.
Okay. What did you think about that show?
It's fine.
It was fine.
I think I was in high school by then, so I didn't pay that much attention.
I gotcha. I was just curious.
Yeah. Is that one of yours?
I enjoyed Biker Mice from Mars. I actually I revisited the first episode, and I was like, huh, this isn't bad. It's 90s cheese. Do not get me wrong. It's 90s cheese beyond belief. But it is a fun little show to watch. So
for some reason you said Biker Mice from Mars, my brain went to Tattoo Teenage Alien Fighters from Beverly Hills.
My gosh.
I have no idea why.
Oh my gosh.
Because I never watched that show.
Species, stay with your own kind.
I know about because of the name.
So kind of wrapping up this interrogation, be like, if you had the chance to go see one of your favorite films of all time, animated wise, in theaters, if you were able to watch one of your favorite films in theaters, what would it be? The big screen, whatever.
Yeah. Well, my third favorite film of all time is The Incredibles. So I would say The Incredibles, the first one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, kind of good for a devotion. Wink, nudge.
He already did one on that.
Never mind then.
That's what
I hear it was incredible.
Well, never mind then.
We need to talk on that too.
That is true. Either or. Anime you would recommend to someone who is not into anime?
He needs recommendations for his girlfriend.
No.
Yeah. Well, I would have to go in and say that anime, just like animation, is not a genre. So I would have to ask, what genre do you like, and then base an anime off of that.
Oh, okay. So if you were to recommend, be like, if you like your favorite anime, you wanted to show someone that maybe had never seen anime, like what would that be? Not like based on genre and everything. Just be like, here's my favorite. Watch the first episode.
Boy. Something that's not too heavy, because I think ReZero is not for everybody.
Right.
So, anime that.
I think I know what I would pick in this situation.
Okay, go ahead and while I'm thinking, what would you say?
Spy Family.
It's a decent one.
It's got a deep enough story. You can kind of you can feel the thought process there, but it's just light enough that you don't feel like you're, I don't know. It just seems perfect there, in that perfect slot. It's like this is kind of what anime is in general, but you can definitely approach it from a more Western perspective.
Yeah, one of my favorite anime is old school, and that's Oh My Goddess, and that's
I remember that.
That's only like the first season is only like 5 episodes.
I never watched the anime. I read the manga.
Right, so I would
site.
And, that's not heavy action. It's more on the what light rom-com, I guess you would call it. I don't know. But
technically it'd be more of a harem anime.
Not till later, but I can see that. At least in the first 5 episodes, you don't get that that feeling. But I also enjoyed if you enjoyed that, I was about to say if the movie is also good. If they don't want to sit through 5 episodes, or like you just said 1 episode, I would show them the first episode of that.
Okay,
that what I'd pick.
Cool. One more.
Okay.
What if if you had the choice of going into an anime world, not isekai or whatever, like you got sucked into a world, but like you were given the option to go into an animated world, either Western or Eastern animation, what series would that be?
Oh, open up to all animation?
All animation.
What animated world do you want to live in?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Wow, what a question. I love the question just because my mind is just expanding more and more with all the different worlds I'm thinking of, all the different possibilities, because like I said, anime and animation is not a genre. I mean, there's just so many. Disney's House of Mouse, that has everything in it. all the Disney characters.
Oh my gosh, that's clever. That's genius. All right, so I think we're done with the interrogation, and let's.
All right.
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay, good.
So I guess now we need to jump into our talk on X-Men.
On X-Men. Meet the sulky, over-bulky, kinda hulky superhero. A two-fisted and electrically transistored superhero. An exotically erotic and aquatic superhero. The Marvel superheroes have arrived. X-Men, X-Men, it's the day, X-Men, X-Men, come and go. Spider-Man and his amazing friends, Iceman and Firestar.
X-Men the animated series, season 3. Did you catch what's the episode number on this? Technically, I didn't get it written down.
Episode 8.
Episodes 8 and 9. Savage Land Strange Heart, Part 1 and 2, originally aired on September 10th, 1994, and September 17th, 1994, respectively. Directed by Larry Houston, and both episodes were written by Marty Eisenberg and Robert M. Skier. In these episodes, separated from the rest of the X-Men, Storm is encouraged by Sauron to free her inner tempest of energy, awakening Garrock. And then Garrock fuses with the island's volcano and the surging planetary force below it. Getting into the guest cast, Robert Boxdale played both Sauron and Khazar, which are technically the same guy, but also different personalities. And then Lisa Dalbelio played Xanadane. For whatever reason, I could not find a voice actor who played Garrock in his few lines. So that's fun. Getting into the trivia.
Okay, so before we jump into that, I just want to make a correction. So on the Disney Plus app, where they've kind of chronologically fixed everything, it's episodes 12 and 13.
Fair enough. Season 3 is so fun with how out of place most of the episodes are.
Yes.
Getting into the trivia. The villain Sauron was originally to be a werewolf, but the Comics Code Authority forbade this as a reference to his origin.
Comics
however,
Code.
as a reference to his origin. However, Sauron's alter ego is named Carl Lycos, the scientific term for a werewolf being lycanthropy.
Clever.
And as you probably can guess, in the comics, Sauron takes his name from the titular villain of J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings, and how they didn't get sued is beyond my knowledge. Which was popular and still very new in 1969 when the character was introduced. The character's usual nemesis, Magneto.
I am Magneto, master of magnet.
Was played in the live-action films by Sir Ian McKellen, who went on to play Gandalf in the Lord of the Rings films. And as a goof in the second episode, Storm's red comm badges appear and disappear from shot to shot during the battle with Garrock. And I don't just mean where she angrily rips them off her chest.
There were so many flashing lights and such, I didn't even notice.
Yeah,
I didn't notice this either, but that's what came up when I was looking up trivia. Paul, what are your thoughts on this episode?
Oh my.
And I assume you watched X-Men the animated series before.
Yeah, growing up, I was in high school when this was on, but also I was collecting comics and reading comics, and I found these stories were in the comics, and I thought the comics were better written and better drawn as well than the animated series. So I often didn't watch this animated series, but I did later watch some of the X-Men Evolution series more. I like that animation style more, and I hadn't read the stories. So I did see a few. It's got a catchy theme song, even though it's a ripoff. You have to watch another Cellcast or listen to another Cellcast episode on that. I forget who it was by, but anyway, you don't remember that?
Ron Wasserman?
Do what?
Is this the one who wrote the X-Men theme song?
No. Oh man. I'll have to research and find it later, but
I'm sure it came up before and I just don't remember it.
Yeah. So I had seen a few episodes, and I was happy to revisit this just because I enjoyed the X-Men going back. My thoughts are, welcome back to Jurassic Park, I guess.
Yes.
After last week?
Yes.
Barney's back.
Yeah.
Oy vey.
I had a lot more questions than I did anything while watching this show. Like, apparently you can just fly to this island, but nobody does there's no normal people here. Like, there's not an airport or anything. It's all savage things, but apparently the X-Men can go back and forth. I don't know.
Savage Land makes no sense to me as a location.
Yeah.
In Marvel.
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad Marvel the MCU has not gone there yet.
Yeah. I thought at first I was thinking the main villain, this ancient rock guy, I thought it was going to be somebody that I knew, like it was really Mr. Sinister or somebody who I recognized. But and then the reveal is like, oh, it's somebody new. Well, I guess that's good because it's somebody new. That makes things interesting. But I did not expect. It's just basically a kaiju battle at the end for the finale.
Yeah.
Yes. Agreed.
A very short, disappointing kaiju battle at the very end.
Yeah, but I thought it was fun to see those characters. I was questioning where the other X-Men were. Like, what are they doing when all this is happening? Why aren't they helping?
They said they said a very quick line that everybody else was on Muir Island watching over Jean, which chronologically this would have when it was released, this was your only clue that Jean Grey was still alive after
I was like,
Phoenix
what
Saga.
in the world? Because like Wolverine said, be like, yeah, they're watching over Jeannie like she's like something. I was like, what? Wait, where am I getting that? Where did this happen?
When did this happen?
Yeah.
So and you need all of them to watch. Like, anyway.
Well, that makes sense. Well, I mean, we're only really talking Cyclops and Professor Xavier.
Yeah.
And of course, Jean.
And-
Being the only three that were missing of the normal cast.
Gambit.
Oh yeah, Gambit was.
I was
yes.
and is Colossus not
Gambit.
part of this?
Colossus is not an X-Man yet in this continuity.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's shown up in 2 separate episodes.
Yeah.
But he's he doesn't stick around, even though he's wearing essentially his X-Men uniform.
Yeah.
I think in the second one he is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I like I said, I'm more in the comics, so I'm thinking like, okay, where's Iceman? Where's
Iceman?
Iceman was in the
Iceman's in jail at this point after the last episode.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, I didn't watch all the episodes leading up to this, but this is what I was.
No,
You're fine. You're fine.
I'll give you the quick rundown. Iceman is in maximum security prison because he tried to break into a maximum security place.
Yeah.
And the X-Men kind of barely stopped him. And then Angel, who is now Archangel, we have no idea where the crap he is, other than he's just still angry at Apocalypse.
Fair enough.
That's where the others are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nightcrawler hasn't shown up yet.
And oddly enough, there is a flashback, I think like an earlier part of the season, where they do show the original X-Men.
Yes.
And there's Archangel's there and Bobby's there.
Mm-hmm. Bobby's there. They're fighting Magneto.
Yeah.
Which, as I pointed out in that episode, makes no sense continuity-wise.
Yeah.
Because nobody knew who Magneto was when he showed up in
for
episode
Charles.
3. Oh my word! This show is off the rails.
Yeah, agreed. It was the 90s.
It's a cheap 90s show. I get that, but it is hitting above its weight class for like most of it because this is almost nostalgic for no good reason. That makes sense.
That is true.
But yet I'm enjoying watching it, and I'm still looking forward to X-Men 97 whenever it comes out.
I'm interested to see what they do with that.
Mm-hmm.
Since most of the original cast is returning. So.
Oh, nice. I wonder if Magneto will be a villain.
No, actually, they said it's going to start off with the trial of Magneto.
Oh, okay.
So I bet he's not. And I think they already showed off his lovely giant M costume.
Yes.
You know the one I'm talking about?
I think it was from the early, like the 80s.
It's his first time he was a hero character.
Oh, okay. So he's not
when he was running Xavier's school.
Oh.
Although some of that, I may be getting some of my comics lore there from the audio drama, which is not necessarily correct. But anyway,
I gotcha.
Anywho, this was a weird episode.
Just a little.
First off, I had no idea Sauron could hypnotize people by staring into their eyes.
Well, he did that previously.
Didn't he do that with
There's
Rogue?
so much of that last time he showed up, I don't remember it. Which I was like, oh, you're here. Okay. Who are you again? What's going on here? Why do I feel like we've lost a lot of lore in 5 stories, basically? Because this season has had a lot of multi-part episodes.
True.
So I still don't get the Savage Land and would be happy if we never came back here. It's really bad that I preferred the Mojo stuff to this.
Oh, wow. Hey, at least we're going into the Dark Phoenix saga next.
Yeah. Speaking of stuff that reminds me of going into Phoenix sagas, the to be continued at the end of part 1 of this.
Yes.
Oh, that was so bad.
Yeah.
You don't have to be this. This is not quite as bad as the end of the first 2-parter right before Phoenix Saga, where we had the worst flame graphic.
Oh my gosh, that was terrible. So terrible.
Not quite that
cringy.
bad, but it's like, oh my word, this is so 90s it hurts.
But I was about to say, somebody was excited when they were making that. We're gonna have like the letters come in too.
Oh yeah, they were pausing their scene.
And it's gonna be amazing. And you're like, all right, I get it. Let's go. Come on.
It did not age well. It did not age well at all. And then there's another shot, I think, in the second episode where you can tell they composited the animated characters over like an actual shot of the sky.
Oh, wow.
A live action shot of the sky. It's like,
that's right.
What happened here? Did y'all run out of money again? You just needed this 2-second shot that you had time to animate the characters, but not to draw another background? Another grayscale cloudy shot?
Yeah, they spent their money on the to be continued.
That's what happened. Oh, my word.
This was an interesting episode, I would say, where like we do get to understand like who Sauron is and who his alter ego is and why he does this.
And all of that was interesting. It just was kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
I still don't know who any of these Savage Land people are and why I should care about them.
I was about to say, you don't. You don't care who they are.
You don't. They're just characters in the background.
And there's that, but I'm still sitting there going, okay, this is the these are the second and third full episodes featuring the Savage Land as a main setting.
Yes.
Not to mention the one scene, an episode all through season 2 of Magneto and Xavier walking through the Savage Land during season 2. Yep. Why do I care what happens in this Antarctic tropical paradise?
Yeah. Which apparently Magneto created, then Sinister took it over.
Which I can get Sinister taking over something Magneto started and walked away from. How does Magneto have the ability to create this stuff?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
It's like, especially since he's so early on in this continuity. Like, if we're talking about X-Men comics at the time this was coming out, I could see Magneto being able to do this. He would have the resources.
Right.
Yeah.
But this Magneto is still he's from what we still haven't even met we met one of his kids.
Yeah. Briefly.
Technically we've met 2 of his kids, but not the siblings. Because we have seen Quicksilver and we saw Lana
Polaris,
the green haired one.
Polaris.
We've seen both of them. We still have yet to see Wanda.
And that's one of the main reasons why I didn't watch this, is because I had read the comics, which made a lot more sense. And when like Days of Future Past, that whole thing, when they did that, it was so lame compared to the real thing. So it just frustrated me.
I can see that. Days of Future Past, though, was a good episode of the show.
Mm-hmm.
But
which is what I'm saying.
Yes. This doesn't raise as many questions as the other episode featuring Bishop.
Oh gosh,
I can't remember the name of, but also includes Cable. After we'd already met Cable and reintroduced who his character was, it's like, but we already saw you as a mercenary.
Yeah,
I'm from the future,
and now you're from the future. I need an explanation here. Why there's 2 versions of you running
around. Stuff, you know.
You know what? If X-Men 97 actually goes in and tries to fix a bunch of these plot holes where it makes sense, I'll accept that. I don't think it will.
No,
but
they have other stories to mess up.
So,
yeah,
that is true. So going to the point you had, Paul, you grew up watching, like not watching, but reading the comics.
Right.
Like you watch the comics where, for me, X-Men the animated series, Spider-Man the animated series.
Yeah, these were my introduction.
These were our introductions into comics.
Right. So I can see that
Marvel.
if you're going
Marvel
that
comics.
direction, that's cool. But for me, who's coming the opposite direction, it's like,
Yeah, I totally see that.
Well, also, as a kid, half this stuff does not stand out as an issue, especially when you're watching it completely out of order.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Because as a kid watching it in the context, and it's like, wow, this is really cool.
Right. If you have,
And now as an adult, understanding more like the lore of what was really going on with the stories, it's like, oh, okay, this doesn't really match what they were doing in the comics,
Right.
but it works for what they were doing in the show.
sort of, because
Which
we
still
still
doesn't
have
make
so
any
many
sense.
questions.
It sort of works. It sort of works.
Yeah, but for the show's sake,
They
it
were
worked.
trying to do their own thing, but trying to keep to the source.
Yeah, this show is a good example of forcing something to fit that doesn't fit.
Yeah.
It's Saban at their most Saban-ist is the best way I know how to put this. Because Power Rangers, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers kind of has the same issue, except they're much simpler stories than what X-Men is trying to pull off.
Yeah.
True.
So, I mean, it kind of fits better. But because X-Men is trying to do all this stuff, trying to be as accurate a representation of the comics as it can be.
Yeah.
Trying to go into, here's all the anti-mutant groups and bringing that racism in there and having that element there. But then at the same time, we're also going to be a Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, it doesn't quite work.
Yeah. I'd rather them.
But I remember I loved it as a kid.
I'd rather them take this two episode arc and change it to a 6 episode and do it right. You know what I mean? Now,
because it feels like we lost a lot of information.
Right. Yeah.
And if we're being honest, Phoenix Saga had the same issue.
Oh, they all do. Yeah.
And I have a feeling Dark Phoenix Saga,
They all do.
while I still think it will be better than the 2 live action movies about the Dark Phoenix Saga, I don't think it's going to be much better.
No. Well, in any case, be like, you're never going to appease everybody with everything.
I agree with that. And for the most part, it's not like I'm not enjoying watching this.
Yeah.
Going back into
Right.
it. So
Yeah, because there again, be like looking at it from both perspectives. You see like how they did the Phoenix Saga in the TV show, how in this show, I was like, wow, this is really cool. And then understanding how they did it in the comics, and it's like, that's cool.
Right.
But at the same time, you got this continuity. It's like, okay, so you're running both in your head,
Right.
as someone who grew up watching it and then understanding it later.
Yeah.
And so, okay, that
and since Dark Phoenix Saga is actually one of the stories I'm most familiar with in the comics, there's no way they're going to wrap this up in 4 episodes.
no.
And to be fair, just
I'm curious if they're going to rename the Hellfire Club, since the word hell is in the name of that organization.
They do.
And I was about to say,
because that would not have been allowed on Fox Kids.
no, it's called the
Definitely
Shadowland Club. I don't know.
Shadow. No, that would have been if it was 4 kids.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
It'd be the Shadow Realm Club.
Yeah. But I was about to say, to be
This
fair,
is the mod. This will be the Hope for Infinite Losers Club.
but also the comics, that's not to say the comics were perfect and they didn't have their own questionable things happening on their end too. So
True.
That's fair. Anyway, we all have anything else before we finish up tonight?
I think we're good.
Okay, y'all notice that I did not mention what movie we're reviewing next week.
No.
Because we're taking next week off because you are going to go elsewhere.
Yeah, me and my girlfriend are go watch Wicked somewhere in the Houston area.
Wicked.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
We both, we didn't realize at the time we both loved the musical, or at least the music, because we'd never seen it. So we were literally sitting, I think we were like, had been dating for like, I think it was like 6 to 9 months. And literally sitting there, it's like, I'm thinking about Wicked. And she's like, it's like, hey, have you ever seen Wicked? No. Do you like the music? Yes. Be like, hey, they got tickets for a really good price here in Houston. And it's like, why not? So yeah, we're going next week.
Nice.
There you go. So the week after that,
Yes.
we are going to be reviewing Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Which I recently watched.
I was about to say, you just saw that one. So I thought you were
I've seen it
going
once.
to be reviewing the second one. But okay, the first one.
No, we haven't actually reviewed the first one yet.
Not yet.
So
Nice.
I watched it for the first time a couple of weeks ago.
And I can tell you, even though we didn't have any Kingdom Hearts connections this week,
You will.
we're going to have a heck of a lot next week.
It's to make up for the lack of recently.
Since there was an actual Hunchback of Notre Dame level in a Kingdom Hearts game, which still weirds me out, all things considered.
Yep.
But yeah, and then of course we're jumping into Dark Phoenix Saga on X-Men next week, or week after next. So join us for that.
Yep.
You have anything else before we cut out of here? I already asked that question. Paul, why don't you tell us where we can find you at?
Great. I am pauljpowers.com, and you can find me on the Cellcast right now. But you can also find me elsewhere at pauljpowers.com.
All right.
All right. So just for information, apparently in X-Men the Animated Series, the Hellfire Club has been turned to the Inner Circle Club.
That's not as fun as the Home for Infinite Losers Club.
Yeah.
So true.
Or the Seven Circles of Hell Club.
I'll just call it Seven Circles.
Yeah. It's like,
that would actually be a cool name.
Yeah.
Or Seventh Circle. Anyway.
Yeah.
I guess that's going to be it for us, guys. In the meantime, this has been Drew.
This is Jacob.
And this is pauljpowers.com.
And we'll catch you in the next frame.
You can follow Jacob on his Facebook at Jacob B. Heron. His Facebook page, Jacob's Daily Art Corner, where he tries to draw each and every day. His Instagram at Jacob B. Heron. His Twitter at Jacob Heron. And his letterboxd at Jacob Heron. You can find Drew on Facebook at Drew Dodgen. His Facebook page, Drew's Photo Bin, to see his photography. His letterboxd page at ggeorge759. His Twitter at ggeorge759. And Instagram at Drew Dodgen. You can like us on Facebook at the Cellcast Podcast, on Twitch at the Cellcast Gaming, on YouTube at Cellcast, on Twitter at cast_cell. The Cellcast can be found at Apple Podcasts, Google Play Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or anywhere else fine podcasts are downloaded from. Please rate and review us where you found us, and also on Podchaser. Email us at thecellcastpodcast@gmail.com. The Cellcast is a proud member of both the Pop Americana and Culture Box media networks. For more information, please see the link in the description. Our theme song is Drop and Roll by Silent Partner. And remember, that's Cell with a single L.
So, I don't think this movie ever answered it, guys. How do you get to Sesame Street?
By bus?
Apparently by plane.
Apparently.
Not the only way we saw in there. Okay.
I'm moving right along.
Dig-a-doom, dig-a-doom.